Hey, what's up everyone? Doing Bible Online. I got a question this week about the 144,000 that are mentioned in Revelation. End time stuff, eschatology is the big term for it. People want to know from pastors, is this the end of the world? Is Jesus coming back? Lots of questions, which is causing people to read Revelation a little bit more. And so people want to know. Now, I would say if you're just starting the whole church journey and the whole Bible journey and you're just reading Revelation, you might be really confused. There's tons of imagery, tons of metaphor. A lot of it points back to all sorts of pieces of prophecy and scripture, Old Testament, New Testament. There's just a lot. Even as a pastor, full disclosure, I don't get it all. There's so many things in there, just a complete mystery to me. But what we're going to do, we're going to focus the mystery on the 144,000. Now, this is mentioned in two areas, in Revelation 7 and Revelation 14. So to start out with, I'm just going to read the passages, and then we're going to unpack the two camps on who these people are. So if you have a Bible, you can grab it and go to Revelation chapter 7. Revelation is the last book of the Bible. And so I'm going to read 7 through to, we'll go to 8, okay? Revelation 7, 1 to 8. By the way, this is just a little pet peeve of mine. A lot of times people say it's revelations. It's a single revelation that God gave to John through the Holy Spirit. It's not revelations. So in case you're out there and you've called it revelations, nope. It was a single revelation, single vision about things to come. Starting in verse 1, it says, "After this, I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding back the 4 winds of the earth, and that no wind might blow on the earth or sea or against any tree. Then I saw another angel ascending from the rising of the sun with the seal of the living God, and he called with a loud voice to the 4 angels who had been given power to harm earth and sea, saying, 'Do not harm the earth or the sea or the trees until we have sealed the servants of our God on their foreheads.' And I heard the number of the sealed." So these are the sealed people that are going to sealed on their foreheads. 144,000, there's our number, sealed from every tribe of the sons of Israel. 12,000 from the tribe of Judah were sealed, 12,000 from the tribe of Reuben, 12,000 from the tribe of Gad, 12,000 from the tribe of Asher, 12,000 from the tribe of Naphtali, 12,000 from the tribe of Manasseh, 12,000 from the tribe of Simeon, 12,000 from the tribe of Levi, 12,000 from the tribe of Issachar, 12,000 from the tribe of Zebulun, 12,000 from the tribe of Joseph, 12,000 from the tribe of Benjamin were sealed. Okay, so that's Revelation 7. Now we're going to jump forward to Revelation 14, which is interesting. They're mentioned in 7 and 14. If you're big into biblical numbers, 7 and 14 are kind of important numbers, multiples of 7 and all that stuff. I'm not getting into that. I'm not going to get into the numeric prophecy stuff. It's not my jam. Still lots of mystery in that. I don't know if I can make a definite guess on where things are placed since the numbers of chapters and verses were placed after weren't in the original text, just so we're clear. So people who place that, it's kind of a loose argument, just in case you're wondering, because that's often a side question. Okay, so I'm going to look at Revelation 14. It says, "Then I looked, and behold, on Mount Zion stood the Lamb, and with him," here's that number, 144,000 who had his name and his father's name written on their foreheads. And I heard a voice from heaven like the roar of the many waters and like the sound of loud thunder. The voice I heard was like the sound of harpists playing on their harps, and they were singing a new song before the throne and before the 4 living creatures and before the elders. No one could learn that song except the 144,000 who had been redeemed from the earth." So those are the two passages. Now let's talk about the two camps. There is a literal camp in who the 144,000 is, and then there's a symbolic camp. This whole thing is taking place during the tribulation, the 7 years of tribulation. Now, depending, here again, these are differences in Christianity. Some are post-tribulation, pre-tribulation, mid-tribulation, and this is when Jesus returns and takes up Christians, takes up followers of Jesus. Is that happening before the tribulation, during, after? Again, in Christianity, there's all sorts of opinions on this because Revelation is things to come, but it's a lot of metaphor, word pictures, a lot of prophetic language. It's really tough. But let's focus in on the 144,000 in the tribulation, the literal version, some Christians believe this is literally 12,000 of each tribe of Jewish peoples, of Hebrew peoples. In the Old Testament, there was 12 tribes of Israel, and the literal version means that in the end times, that there's going to be Hebrew people, Hebrew Christians, Jewish people coming to know Jesus, and they're going to be from the 12 tribes. So the literal version is pretty simple. It's just taking exactly what it says, word for word. Now, here's the symbolic problem with that, or the symbolic camp, is if you took literally what everything in Revelation took, there's like winged creatures and stuff, like, is this what it means, or is this a metaphor for things? If you fully go literal in Revelation, it's going to be one of the greatest sci-fi movies ever, which maybe it'll be there. I think there's a lot to be known. To be honest, just so we're clear, I'm not really going to tell you that absolutely this is exactly what it means, but I can give you the different ideas that are out there in Christianity, and that, to be honest, pastors, theologians, scholars, they're still wrestling with this. There's guys and gals that are way smarter than me that are divided on this. So let's just be clear. Okay, the symbolic camp. Instead of it being 12 tribes of Israel, the symbolic camp says, no, this is actually going to be 144,000 believers, but it's different. It's going to be symbolic. And here's their reasons. The first is just practically that the 12 tribes of Israel, the bloodlines, have been so dispersed. We know that persecution right up until World War II of Jewish peoples has been massive throughout time. The race of Jewish people God has kept it going despite many nations wanting to eradicate them. But still, the 12 tribes have been dispersed. No one can really track back and say, oh, I am definitely from the line of Reuben. So how are those bloodlines going to come back together again? That's one of the pushbacks against the literal version. The other thing is the number. The number of just 12,000 making 144,000. There's some belief that instead of just 144,000, it's 12 times 12 times 1,000. And 1,000 is the prophetic number for like lots. And maybe it's the use of 144,000 isn't exact in that number. The prophetic use of 144,000 is to basically say 12 times 12 of millions, or like multiples. So this is a bit of a pushback. There's also a pushback in that the tribes don't match. In chapter 7, when it talks about the 12 tribes, you're like, oh, well, it's very clear here. It's just the 12 tribes of Israel. But then when you actually look at these, it's not. Because if you go back to Genesis 35, and you go back again, Genesis 35, 22 to 26, if you look at these, the tribes don't exactly match up. For example, the tribe of Judah comes first in the Revelation account. Reuben comes second. Well, Reuben's actually the first tribe. Now you might say, well, Jesus is from the tribe of Judah. That's why it came first. Exactly. I think you're right. I think Judah became a very important tribe, and that's why in the Revelation it comes first. But as you start going through these lines, there's some different stuff. For example, you see the tribe of Gad, Asher, and Naphtali. Gad, Asher, and Naphtali didn't actually come from wives. They came from concubines. And yet in the Revelation account, those three tribes actually get bumped higher up in the order, which is kind of cool that even though they were kind of illegitimate in a way from concubines, that all of a sudden the Revelation story, they're redeemed to a higher placement in the number. Where they're placed is different, but in the Genesis account, these are placed lower. But there's even more mystery to this. The tribe of Dan, which appears in Genesis, doesn't appear. And from the tribe of Dan, there was a lot of trouble through the Old Testament came from that, but instead, Dan is replaced with the tribe of Manasseh. So that's different as well. And another thing, Joseph is replacing the tribe of Ephraim. There's also the tribe of Levi. Now, adding the tribe of Levi just right in the middle of it, the tribe of Levi actually didn't get any land. They were actually the set apart holy tribe. The symbolic approach means you can't just it's not apples to apples. There's differences in the accounts between Genesis 35 and Revelation. And so when it simply says 144,000 from the 12 tribes of Israel, okay, well, that makes sense. But it's not until you start looking at those tribes, you're like, wait a second, this is a very different output of tribes. So these are some of the discrepancies. I want to say, before I sign off here, I want to say clearly that in case you're saying, well, Jeremy, what's your camp? Where do you think I should be? What should I be choosing? To be honest, I don't know. And I know maybe that's not going to make me very popular as a pastor, and I don't know, but I want you to know I'm still struggling with it. To be honest, Revelation as a whole, I have always struggled, and I continue to struggle to be able to say, this definitely says this. Now, some things I can, but on this 144,000, I go back and forth. I read commentaries from guys that are from one camp, and I'm like, wow, they have some good points. I read commentaries from another guy, and I'm like, they have good points. But what I know is I can't spend my whole life searching through Revelation. My mission as a pastor and our mission as Christians doesn't change. There's only so much I can dive in when I have to just say, you know what, Lord, I'm going to leave this up to you, and I'm going to ask that you continue to reveal to me, continue to teach me. But in the meantime, there are things that I definitely know. I definitely know that the only way to heaven and the only good spot to be in when the end times comes is to be with Jesus. And so I'm going to continue to proclaim that, and I encourage you to too. If you're looking at Revelation, you're interested in eschatology, this is a beautiful thing. I don't want to push against that, but I would say be prepared to be reading the rest of the Bible, because you need to know so many previous books before you get into Revelation. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next time.